Two nations hungry for gold, as is here Singapore, showing an excellent no-loss record so far, looking to see if they can get their first gold. And on the other hand, Philippines looking for redemption, as we're live here with a mixed division gold between Philippines and Singapore. My name is Jonathan, joined with me is Avril. So get back to the action here.
Exciting matchup between two fast and speedy nations. As you said, both teams undefeated coming into this match. Philippines coming in with a 7-0 win-loss record. They started in a pool of 6. They had to play the extra game. Singapore coming through 6-love as well, with 5 in their pool to start with.
Match person defense showcased by Philippines. And here's a great hop one-on-one battle. It's gonna be denied. Max again.
And the intended receiver in Sasi Abdallah just running out of room on that sideline. But you can see the intent by the Singapore offense early in this game. They are happy to shoot and use their slight height advantage perhaps against the Philippines.
But then again, you have players like Edgar Sumbi using his speed and might and height. And it looks like a sorry error there, but it looks like a foul is going to be called.
Maybe a push-off foul. I didn't quite catch that in live. Our injury call, actually. So the game advisors indicating an injury call. That's Villanueva, I believe.
Correct. As he's checking out for any blood coming out from his mouth as we look at that between these discussion of the players in Singapore and Philippines.
So there's an accepted foul as well. Okay, so no injury call, accepted foul. And the disc will stay with the Philippines. So already a chance for a break in this first point. Can they make it count?
Here we go. Floaty pass. Sacapaño to the middle of Villanueva. Speedy pass here, Sumbi. Leaping ability and all. Sacapaño gets it back. Travels called, so Sacapaño gives it back again to Villanueva. Villanueva. Oh, great mark here from Singapore, but Philippines punches it in. Breakpoint conversion complete.
This is exactly what the Philippines team would have been hoping for coming to this match. You could hear the voices from the sideline urging their defensive play on. I think that's always a fantastic feature of any Philippines team. Their vocalness, their rowdiness, their ability to really give energy from those off-field. And that pays dividends already in this first point.
That just floats right into Sacapaño's hands, uncontested.
Yeah, I don't know if they worked out the matchups on defense properly then, because it looked like an open side throw, John. So Singapore will have to tidy up those errors and make sure they get the communication right. Early days, but Philippines already up a break point.
Here's Felix Angge, one of the coaching staff of the Philippines team, that's going to send the same team to the Southeast Asia Games. And you can see the speed in full display for Philippines, and for Singapore to have any chance to stifle that. We're going to go back to that amazing zone defense they presented in the early games that we've seen.
Yeah, that's right. But they're going to have to sort things out on O first. I think it's quite interesting, right? Because both of these teams play a very speedy offense style. And when we say speed, obviously there's leg speed, right? But also the speed in which they move the disc. So the disc rarely stays in the hands of one player more than maybe 3 stall counts. As you see, they get things moving very quickly.
Quick movement there from Singapore as they are now near their end zone. Dumps it to number 8. See, oh, layout bid, no good. You can sense the physicality and intensity between the two nations. And Singapore punches it through. Clenched fist shows how much they want that point.
And that was much better communication from the Singapore offense. You could see them pointing. You could see him kind of waving the first cut away, saying, no, I want you to clear that space. And that opened up that beautiful inside channel. And once they got it to the break side, it was an easy continuation. So I like the discipline by Singapore to be like, okay, sure, we got broken that first point, but let's just reset, regain composure, and play the style of Frisbee we know we love to play.
And if you're Singapore, great recovery from that first point, just to see that they can also show their calm, collected, steady offense, flow. So you take a look at that replay.
So you can see this communication here. He goes, settle down, guys. Let's just sort it out. And he waves that first cut. He goes clear to that side, opens up that beautiful inside channel. And this is the way Singapore love to play. They love these inside looks. They love using the small spaces. And like I said, coordinating beautifully there. That is pushed through to 27 in Andy Chio. And a nice assist there to start off this game.
Interesting to see if we're going to see that patented zone defense from Singapore. They take their first crack against this fast-paced Philippine offense, the Humos. Looks like a match person defense will be settled for Singapore.
Yeah, and a very flat mark here to start with, obviously deterring those long options.
The Humos gets it back from Lamigo. The Humos thought about it. You see some poaching from Singapore. Martinez gives it to Awid. Awid, trap on this right side of the field. Gives it to Peralta.
Yeah, so Singapore still sticking with a very flat force here, which means that Philippines have to use this underspace.
Here's the Humos. The left side of this field, you can see the winds going against the wind.
Yeah, so this upwind direction, it'll be very difficult for the players to control. You can see the flags here rustling quite strongly from right to left. All the players bunched up on that far sideline at the moment. They're going to have to work out the angle to create a few more spaces they can attack. But you do see the Singapore defense. They've got the cap, that deep defender, or deepest defender, shall I say, has capped the back to deter those long hucks. So clearly that's been a defensive priority for Singapore early on.
Here's the Humos. To swing it to Awid. Awid. There's going to be a call foul on that marking.
I want to say, in addition to that cap at the back, the female matching players for Singapore are doing a lot of switching here. So making sure they try to take the female matching players of Philippines out of the equation for this offensive point.
It's giving good work as Philippines moving back here. Martinez fakes that, fakes it again. Awid gets it back. Swings it to the other side to Lamigo, and he gets it back. Awid does. Looking downfield momentarily. Looks like a foul. Looks like a foul's going to be called on the middle of that pack between Peralta and number 79 of Singapore, Xie.
Very interesting tactic by Singapore. Like I said, a lot of switching between the female matching players. So clearly they've identified them as a big threat and wanting to take them out of this game. Not much forward momentum taken on, and looks like the foul's actually called on the dump.
they're gonna have some discussion and want to clear that out as early as possible. I mean, we definitely, the intensity of course is given, but we have to maintain that physicality somewhere in the ways that is gonna be safer for both of the nations to avoid any injury, serious injury.
So an accepted foul indicated by the hand signals, and so the disc will come in on 1.
A violation is called. Looks like all the players moved before play was reset. So it's gonna, everyone's gonna slowly go back to their original position.
So some great vision, close camera work here by our media volunteers. This broadcast brought to you live from Kamisu, Ibaraki, Japan.
Bida gives it back to Awid, to Chua. Chua to Martinez. Oh, and that bobbles through Lamigo's hands for the first turnover.
And the switching from the female matching players does come up trumps, just causes that little error. Again, going slightly upwind in that direction, the little bobble enough to turn over.
As Jethro swings it to the other side to C. Now there's a travel, it's gonna be called before that pass caught by Chong. So it's gonna go all the way back to Jethro.
So I'm not surprised with Joven Chong and Neven Xie. They have been 2 of the top stats getters on the Singapore team, despite being on the D line.
Here's Ong, oh, hawks it through. It's gonna be a one-on-one battle, but looks like it's gonna sail out of bounds.
So again, the wind comes up trumps here. That downwind direction, not quite read or used well by the thrower. Just needed to take out about 25% of power, and that would have made sure that would have floated into the lap of Chong. Unfortunately, the D-line will have to start again, although they do have good field position, making Philippines work up all 70 meters.
And credits to the man-to-man patch person defense from Philippines, forcing that last throw, because the stall count definitely was rising, so had no chance. Other options for Jethro Ong.
Yeah, and this is why pre-game you really need to warm up your throws and try to throw the disc in different directions to see how you can actually utilize it for maximum benefit.
Here's Martinez, as you say, going back to your observation. They're trying to do some switching between the female matching players to stop momentum. Here's Lamigo, trapped on that farther part of the sideline. Oh, thought there was going to be a D there.
Ooh, there's another attempt.
Lamigo. Again, Singapore doing a good job stifling Philippines' fast offense. Here's Chua, gives it back to Dakumos.
Singapore defense doing well to hold Philippines up, just force them sideways, force them back. They're just having to reset here, clogging up that open lane in front of the disc. And I think they're looking for either an outright block, as you've seen a couple of run-through attempts, or to force frustration from the Philippines offense. Force them to throw a big, long option and then get bodies under.
Here's Lamigo. Lamigo. Again, trapped on that sideline. Great for it. Oh, there's that run-through defense that you mentioned. Right on cue for Singapore.
You saw they had 1 or 2 run-through attempts there. Third time lucky, and absolute stars here by the female matching players for Singapore.
Oh, well too high. Looks like a strip is going to be called.
Yeah, strip or foul, I suspect. Always tricky with those floating ones with the wind.
And it's again from that same side, on the far right of that side, that's causing those high release passes.
Yeah, so that high release pass, I can see what they were trying to do. They were trying to ride the wind, right? So give it some air, let it fall with the wind in that right to left, you know, away to towards the screen direction. But that actually helps the defender, right? Because it floats towards a defender, like in front of your intended receiver. So I think either the cut had to be a little bit upline to use that pocket, or the other way.
No problem. No problem. Go ahead, sir. Okay.
So it looks like that disc will go back, and I'm not surprised. It was a pretty close one to call. I have to say, we did see Singapore in some earlier games use this high release too.
Oh, amazing layout catch, but no, it looks like it went out of her hands.
Very spirited call there to say I'd never had control of that disc.
Here's Martinez. Callahan zone here for Philippines, but able to punch it out of there. Martinez, quick movement from Awid. Awid. And those are type of passes you want if you're Singapore. Those are the chances you're gonna get in those run-through defense. D'Amigo to Peralta. Peralta. Not a lot of options in the middle of that field.
There's so
Peralta sprinting there downfield.
There are so many Singapore bodies right in front of disc. Philippines just struggling to find any way forward in that small space.
Again, we talked about this, right? Credits to the excellent zone defense of Singapore. Best I've seen throughout this tournament in the mixed division.
Yeah, and I would almost call this not a zone, but like a poaching match. As I said, the female matching players free to do what they need now. Philippines find a way out.
Just when I thought the V was going to happen there. Peralta able, but here you go, bobbled fingers and all. Singapore forces it again.
Fantastic way to slap that just down. A timeout called. Not surprised after a flurry of activity, John. And gasping for air, hands on knees. Goodness me, aren't the teams giving their all in this gold medal match?
And this is just at 1-1, Avril. You'd like to think that, as you can see, the tiredness and fatigue setting in, you'd like to think it's already a second half, but it's still not. As we look at the replay on that layout, that they thought she had it there for a second.
I think the line also beat her, so probably went out of bounds. And here we see the female matching players by Singapore causing all sorts of havoc for Philippines. And, you know, I'm not surprised. You know, the first point took 3 minutes 20, second point 2 minutes 5. This point, the time clock is 16:30, so it's been going on for 11 minutes, John, and I can see why the players are tired. It's a multi-turnover point. The heat certainly is quite stifling, and so is Singapore's defense.
And that's something I believe would be the X factor for Singapore, right? How excellent their zone defense will look like against this fast-paced offense from Philippines. And so far, as you can see here, causing 2 turnovers now against Philippines.
Saying that though, that first point out of the blocks, the Philippines defense got the opportunity and never looked back, right? They took a clean break. Singapore, they're earning the opportunity, no conversion just yet, but you do feel that slight momentum shift towards Singapore. The longer that they make Philippines stay out, the more that's going to be a win. No matter whether they actually convert the break or not, the longer they keep the Philippines offense out, I think they're going to stand a good chance of developing further in this game.
You can see the proud flags. We get back here in the action. Singapore thought about that backhand hook. It's going to be stopped momentarily, having troubles, but able to punch it through. Oh, and a sorry miss from the female matching player in Singapore. And here, back, forehand hook. 2 players from Singapore is going to deny that. And it looks like it's going to be caught by Lamigo. Amazing presence of mind and gets it to go.
Incredible play by Lamigo. She was a 2-on-1 sandwich underneath the Singapore players, but stayed with the disc, her eyes glued to that disc. The deflection from the Singapore defenders, she just read it out of their hands, went for that second effort to chase it down, lays out on the ground to save it, and then throws, goes, scores. What a play by Lamigo.
As you can see here, stoic at all, but if I were her, I would be so pumped up. As you can hear our voices, we take a look at that first sorry miss or error, and look at this play again.
So there, the Singapore defenders overcommit, trying to get in front of the disc, but Lamigo says, you know what, I'm going to keep my feet here. I'm just going to get a sneaky edge out the back. And as we said, throwing and going to go, and hopefully for the gold. Well done by Takumos to flip that one to the star in Lamigo.
Amazing presence of mind from Lamigo, and a great pull from Philippines, forcing Singapore to work in that far corner of this end zone. Callahan plays.
They are not out yet. You can hear the voices from the sideline urging the defenders on. I'm sure Philippines are feeling the heat of the battle in this pressure cooker. As the sun just ducks behind the clouds.
Taking a pause from this exciting match. Probably taking a bathroom break. It looks like there's a call between where number 6, Isaac Tan, called the double team that stopped Philippines for a moment.
Yeah, but there's also a travel signaled by the game advisor now. So just trying to work through the call at the moment. But as we said, Singapore, very kind of nervous area to be in. It took them about 3 or 4 passes to get outside of the end zone, and they're certainly not out of trouble just yet.
And again, Philippines taking in a response, bunching it up in the middle part of this zone, knowing that it's a downfield wind. So in Singapore, Tan trapped there a little bit, but able to dump it to her teammate. Swings it to the other side. This is 33, Reynard. Gives it back to Tan. Swings it to the other side, gets it back here.
So Singapore still stuck. 0 meters gain pretty much. Having to use the tiny passes here. I can see the adjustment from the Philippines defense as the stall count rises. Very wise onto the potential threats and covering them as they come. See Chur now, again, just these tiny reset shots into the cup. They do get out to the break side through Cho.
Oh, too low of a pass, and he knows it from the time he releases it. Here's Philippines with a chance for a big. Villanueva. Sumbi, Villanueva to Sacapano. Sacapano calmly gives it to Cortez for the score. Another break point converted by the Philippines.
Second break and second clean break at that. Defense wins games, Jonathan, and the Philippines defense are here to win this gold medal, causing all sorts of trouble for the Singapore offense. They never made it, I think, beyond 10 meters outside their defending end zone. So causing trouble early, plenty of chaos on field.
I keep on mentioning the fast-paced offense of Philippines, but it's their defense right now, slowing Singapore, not giving them any momentum whatsoever.
And just seeing the body language from the Singapore team, their heads are down, shoulders down as well, walking very slowly to this line. So it does feel like the Philippines team has knocked the wind out of Singapore's sails. And actually, that's another thing to think about, John. Singapore, we know, is not a windy city. So these conditions may be not the most, I guess, confident that we've seen Singapore in, and maybe just playing in the back of their minds too.
A nice pull to float it right at the edge of the end zone. Here's Singapore. Quick works.
So very flat mark applied here, an arrowhead defense from Philippines, giving Singapore a different look. So instead of trapping them into a small cup, this is a more, I guess, relaxed zone. They're just containing that next pass, happy for the handlers to move it side to side and behind. But you can see that second wall set up really well to deter anything through or over the cup. The Singapore poppers. Oh, that's a
it's
beautiful...
full extension from number 27, Andy Cho, Ryu Xing. Keep it alive, this is sure. Oh, that's just too tight of a pass, forcing another turnover by the Philippines.
That was just straight into the hands of the waiting Philippines defender. Don't think that was the option Cher was looking for. And that was just a poor decision or a really terrible execution because I couldn't see the intended target at all in that frame.
Just when you thought Singapore was going to get some momentum after slicing through that cup.
No, you can feel the Singapore energy. You know, before this point, you could see the dejected body language and negativity from the sideline and the team.
Oh, a layout bid unsuccessful, but you can feel the heat from Singapore defense trying to get that point back. Swing, that's Libon. This is Agnes. Stoppage of play. Looks like there's going to be some foul call between the cutters.
You know, I think it's an interesting option. This is match defense by the Singapore O-line. The mark looks like it's standing pretty flat, and I'm not sure about that option, Jonathan. You know, it's an upwind direction for the Philippines at the moment, which means any long option is going to float anyway just because of the wind. So you're kind of, you know, investing your resources by stopping a huck, yet your wind is already going to deter those hucks anyway. So, you know, I think maybe a trap or force middle might work a little bit better on this match defense rather than investing your resources on deterring a huck, which probably won't come anyway. And if it does, you're going to have time to go and get it.
Singapore's got to use that weather condition you mentioned to their full advantage. They want to get a stop here. There's a lengthy conversation between two teams. It looks like it's discussing about the stall count. That's when the contact happened in the middle between the cutter and defender.
Looks like coming in on 6.
Here, Agnes gives it to Hortelano. Hortelano milks that pass as much as he wants. Liboon down the middle with 1-2 between Hortelano and Rebusa. This is Hortelano. Hortelano losing some options here, but Agnes, great zigzag cut to get himself open. Gives it to Rebusa. Agnes.
Very honest match defense by Singapore. They now force backhand. Now a high air ball, but no problem whatsoever. A jump shot into the end zone. And there is a call.
But they had to take that disc, keep possession to see if it's a pick call, so play plays on.
Well, it depends if the pick affected the play, right? Because like that call was actually very far away from where the disc eventually went. So if they decide that the pick call didn't affect play, then that goal actually might stand. But yeah, always a good thing, I think, to catch the disc. You just never know what the outcome of the call will be or what the call was. So, but that was a spectacular vertical jump. So disc is going to come back to the thrower, it seems. And like I said, Singapore has switched to force backhand now that Philippines are approaching the end zone.
Oh, layout bid, no good. Libon able to stick it through. Gives it to Agnes. Right at the edge of this end zone. Agnes dumps it to Rebusa. Rebusa. Hortelano to Agnes. Agnes thought about it. Oh, too low of a pass. Looks like the wind forced that pass to go down.
Absolutely. As we said, a right to left and slightly towards your screen. So the wind pushing that disc into ground. What would have been a regulation dump? That is a real let-off. That's the first time the Philippines D-line have turned the disc over. So Philippines opting for a zone defense. Again, just trying to channel the disc side to side, asking Singapore to move the disc around. But again, the downfield cutters have not adjusted for the new position of the disc. They are well too far away. You can see 3 of them all the way deep. They finally work out, ooh, and a bobble, but a save there by Chert.
Great sticky hands for Cher to keep that disc alive for for Singapore. And again, gotta see some adjustments from the cutters from Singapore.
And you see, you can't see it in this image, but there is Doris Yet all the way in the other end zone. I don't know why she's stationed herself there, because that disc is never going to come. And she needs to make herself a threat. She needs to work with the opposing wing to move that defender away from being a threat.
And here he goes. Amazing catch. Oh, one that gap, but looks like a call is going to be made.
Yeah, but this is why. So, okay, you can't see on the screen, but Doris Yet is all the way to your left at the end zone. And because she was too far away to be a threat, it meant that that deep defender from the Philippines had full license to go for that bid. Doris Yet needs to make herself available more on this side of the wing to pull the defender away so there's not close enough to make a bid on that play.
And you can see that from the Philippines defending player Mariano. Took one look behind to see how far she was, and that's why he made that bid.
Yes, he knew she wasn't going to be a threat, that they weren't going to throw it that far downfield.
It's going to be a contested call between Mariano and the Singapore matching player. It's going to go way back again.
Well back, so Singapore still stuck in their defending end zone. Their downfield cutters need to reposition to make themselves a threat. Cher gets the high shot from Chio.
They got to recalibrate their passes. You can sense some, as you can see, oh, slips and all, but unable to recover that pass.
And now that female matching player who was in the end zone is completely out of position, cannot force any defensive pressure. She eventually makes her way up, but Philippines are already on the doorstep.
And here we go, back to the action. Artelano, oh, almost a bid from Tan. She was right on the heels against the Philippine matching player, 23, Rebusa. This is actually Leonid Teo. Rebusa, gotta start play. Hortelano rifles it in, able to lace it, and gets it to go!
And another break for the Philippines D-line. They are here to take the championship. What a way to pressure Singapore, force them backwards and sideways. You could feel the Singapore handlers get nervous with no options at all downfield. In the end, force that error as they try to get it over the cup. And Philippines not being asked twice, they said, we're better than this. We're gonna punch that one in. Early days, but they are already 3 breaks up. That is 4-1 for the Philippines here in this mixed game.
As you look at the amazing display of layout by Liboon, snatching it in at the last second, sliding it through.
And you can see here, really fantastic technical use of the hands on the catch. So you see this is fading away, so he uses his right hand to get the back rim of the disc, and then he sweeps the hand with the shape of the disc, because there's a slight outside in, right? So he reaches for the outside edge and then pulls it towards him, because it's not fighting against the disc direction, he's going with it. And that means he doesn't get ground stripped, right? He maintains control of that, keeps it up, you know, body well in bounds. But yes, what a way to get horizontal secure, another break. So Philippines in the box office seat to take this gold medal, John.
You can see Singapore dejected right now. I know you can see it, the screen, but you see the Philippines huddling up, taking the next point already.
I think the Singapore O-line were just too hesitant. As we have a look at some of the highlights from this point, or from this game. The flat mark of Singapore, like I said, I don't think that's the option there. Like, you've got a short field, you've got to switch the force to one way, at least allow your downfield defenders to have a bit opportunity. But the D-line for Philippines absolutely romping away here. I think it's really awesome when the D-line are hungry to keep the O-line off the pitch, John. They want some star time as well.
Star time and air time, definitely. As we're live here on the WFDF YouTube channel on Field 1, as we wrap up this amazing tournament. And exciting matches all over the division. We stay here, we get back. Amazing layout again from Libon.
I also want to point out, like, the fact that the Philippines defense, their energy, their voice, their momentum is up. They've really kind of put the foot down, and you can see that the Singapore O-line, usually brimming of confidence, usually so smooth through the handle weave, they just don't have any answers at the moment. And I think structurally they need to make some adjustments as well. The Philippines, again, they come down with a very similar zone, right? They're clogging up that middle space, forcing Singapore to go side to side. And the thing is, sure, they can manage to do the side to side, but getting through, that is the tricky part. They do better this time. They've got a fourth handler back so that they can cycle through, use the small ball, use these little upline cuts through the cup, and they actually managed to get past halfway.
Amazing point made, Avril. You can see they're already halfway past and already approaching their end zone. And just want to say that a low pass from Singapore. And here's Sakapanyo racing it through. Villanueva maintains it. Here's Sakapanyo. Sakapanyo to Villanueva. Pass it to Rodil. First time seeing Rodil in this lineup. Sakapanyo. Sakapanyo. Stokeout is rising. Asking a little bit too much. That forces the error there. Singapore are able to get it back.
Yeah, well said, John. Forcing the high pass. Joven Chong with the long limbs and the big vertical. He gets in the way to deflect that. And Singapore, again, trying to work through this defense. So this is actually Singapore's D-line. So, you know, the O-line's taken a lot of points in a row. Their D-line is not now coming up to play. Of course, Andy Cho, he's a flex player. He plays both ends. Unfortunate travel here. So, look, I like the strategic adjustment by Singapore line. On offense, they've now brought 4 players back in the back space, which means they can get those little, you know, forward momentum, small cut up into the cup, and then get some of those continuation shots. But it does mean there's not a lot of space and the contact and foul called here.
The great adjustments from this 7 on the line for Singapore, as you mentioned, to get as much cutters as they can in the middle, to force the zone to open up, choose one side, and that will make Singapore's chance easier to get some forward momentum towards their attacking end zone. Some brief conversation with Spirit.
Accepted call signaled. So yeah, it is a bit tricky because the upline cut from that dump is going into a very small space, and you know, if you can make the cut without initiating contact, that's fair play, but if you got to run through a shoulder or an arm, that's needs to really be talked out.
Here's number 27. Sends it to the other side, able to catch it. Number 16. There we go, the quick movement so far from the Singaporeans.
Bobble and hugs the disc. Make sure she treasures it, Doreen Sim.
Chest-to-chest bump between the two nations. You're gonna like to see for Singapore, that's Shercio Wen Lin. So give it to number 87, Ong.
Now they find, there's a travel call.
We go back here to Ong.
So Singapore's usual D-line doing pretty well on this offense, just to march it up patiently.
Cheryl sends it over to the middle, then swings it to the other side. Singapore going great job swinging side to side, and that's what we're missing from this 7-9 offense from Singapore.
Yeah, so the side to side, oh, there's a miscommunication there. Unfortunate that Ong just jigged up forward as the throw came to behind. And that is a real let-off and a timeout called. So timeouts used very generously early in this game, John. It's only 4-1. And interestingly, Philippines D-line, they say, you know what, let's get possession, let's call a timeout, let's really ramp up this game and snuff out any hopes of a Singapore comeback.
Indeed. In terms of the timeout, right? Trying to figure out a great ATO play. In Singapore, look at the huddle. You can see gasping for air, hands on their knees. They're sensing how it's a very difficult matchup against Philippines' speed and athleticism. But they definitely have the experience and the mental IQ, or the game IQ rather, to be able to get a comeback.
That's right, this Singapore Nationals team, a big chunk of their roster coming from the mixed team that competed at the World Ultimate Championships in the Gold Coast just last year. And they will also be sending a team to the SEA Games in December. So both teams really in the middle of their season. They've got some other big competition coming up as well. So Singapore at the moment looking very flat, not really having too many answers to the questions. So can they find a spot? Can they draw on that mental resilience? Can they find a way through this Philippine zone?
We get back. This will be Guerrero for the Philippines. One of the greatest players coming from the Philippines. Been playing more than 20 years of high-level ultimate. He will lead this charge in the 7th of the line, Sacapaño. Gives it to Villanueva. Villanueva. Oh, Sacapaño lays it out, but no good. Forces Singapore another chance for a score.
It's very interesting, John. Both times that Philippines D-line have gotten possession and called a timeout, they've actually turned it over from the next passage of play. It's going to be a foul called, so a little bit stop-start in this game with a few calls, working out the contact and people kind of barging through those small spaces.
Looks like another discussion between Singapore and Philippines. You see the game advisor slowly marching it in.
So Guerrero, as you said, plenty of experience and captaining this side. Age 42, so he would have been eligible well and truly to play in the Masters mixed team that won gold just now. So he definitely wants to make sure that he also gets some gold to take home.
Yes, I mean, Guerrero has been playing so long already, and people back home are asking the questions. He doesn't look his age when he's been playing this game, and he looks as fit as a fiddle.
Can I just say, so he's been playing for 21 years, and number 47, Remigio, she's only 19 years old, so he's been playing for longer than she's been alive. That's incredible stat there.
And we're getting back to this action. Singapore.
Again, pinned in their defending end zone. Seems to be quite familiar territory, unfortunately, for the Singapore fans. Again, they've set up one of their wings excessively deep, John. You see, that just allows that deep defender to creep in, apply pressure. Finally, they manage a continuation out the side, but that throw is never going to be thrown, and she's not making so, she can't just plant herself there, right? She needs to go in and out, in and out.
And almost a turnover again, and that might force some things to reconsider for Singapore. Here's 87, Ong. Looks like a travel is going to be called to return momentarily to Ong.
Resolve quickly this time.
It's Andy. It's between these two players again that happened the turnover. Ong able to get it. Here's number 18. Oh, just goes out of her hands. Ginitio Swan. Unable to reel it in.
Yeah, I think Junito did a great job in that backfield and set a good position, but execution of that throw not to her favor.
Here's Sacapaño to Villanueva. Villanueva rips through a backhand. Gotta be too fast even for Sacapaño's hands and feet.
Yeah, so Singapore again on the turnover set a flat mark to deter the Hucks, but Huck is thrown anyway. So even what they're trying to achieve on defense, not successful, not looking good for Singapore, John.
And you can just noticing, if it doesn't see in the frame, but I'm just looking at the sideline of Singapore, just silent in mom, really. Just looking for any energetic plays to really roar them back in. Here's 27, Andy, Joe, rifles it in. Sacapaño was right there, read that play perfectly.
Oh, lots of contact, too many bodies. They're going to call a foul and reset. Fair enough. So, look, with Singapore, the key to unlocking their zone offense is to get those two wings to coordinate. Right now, they are setting their position, not actually changing position and not making that deep accountable. And that is actually making it very difficult for the handlers and the poppers that are much closer to the disc.
Oh, look, someone's on the ground from Singapore. Looks like he twisted his ankle.
It's Joven Chong, I believe. Sorry, Daryl Ho. His quick changes of direction, just maybe one too much for the ankle in day 5.
Trying to tighten it. Looks like he's going to go all out here, especially with just the last game of this. This is it. It's win or go home, and he's tightening up his boots. Get back, number 52. Luzriaga, forehand hawk. Couple of bodies there, but Villanueva able to sky for and a cheeky pass from Guerrero to Cortez. Philippines pulling away in this first half.
Cortez stamps her authority with that goal after an incredibly lengthy point with a timeout to boot. Philippines, like we said, going for gold. That is the third break in a row to bring it up to 5-1. And aren't they happy with the progress they've made in this game? They started absolutely on fire and running away with it, causing all sorts of headaches for the Singapore team. This D-line looking so impenetrable at the moment, John. And when they get disc in hand, this one is very floaty and a little dubious, but Villanueva, look at that vertical and a one-handed grab to boot, keeps his feet in, just conserves that greatness with a small dump. That fake moves the mark across, opens up that nice pocket for Cortez, and a nice jump 2 feet flat, emphatic goal for Cortez. And that point took 14 minutes, 50 seconds, John.
It's already a coffee break if you're in the office. 14 minutes. Short for an office break, but long for ultimate frisbee for sure.
Yeah, and I think that just goes to show the difference between the Philippines' points and Singapore's points. The Philippines scoring very efficiently, only a few minutes for each offensive hold. The pressure straight back on to Singapore. And they've really kept Singapore out on the pitch here. It seems like the longer the offenses are kept on pitch, the weaker they get. So just draining and sapping the energy here.
Oh, here's number 93 able to get it.
And a travel called yet again. So Philippines making sure they keep an close eye on the feet of the Singapore throwers. Yong Ming now having a chat.
Here's Ung. Ung gives it back to Sher. A little bit of tight. between those players. Looks like that'll be the discussion.
I think that was a foul call from Sher. He thought that the cup had collapsed into his arm on the throat.
As we get some great action, great camera work. Listen in. As we get back to the replay, just to see what.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I'm sure Sher felt contact in his hands. You could see it from his body language as soon as he released that disc. He felt that he was infringed. But it's very tight cup.
Indeed, and see number 97, 95 rather.
And they go over.
The one-hand catch. Amazing ability from Singapore. There's Sher gets it back.
So you can see this cup very tight, which allows some open dumps here. They're now on the trap sideline. Sher centers it to Chio, and they march it across the field, and they make some meters, and 1-2.
Amazing speed and spacing from the handlers.
I think Philippines say too speedy on those feet. Another travel call.
Great catch there. It's going to be Chio. A violation is going to be called. A violation again. Either that or there's what to say. Wave hello.
Or V for victory, maybe.
V for victory. Stay with Chio.
All right, so as we see this cup.
Another violation.
So we see this cup from the Philippines. That defender behind is stopping the around. So Sher, you see in that dump space, means they open up, and it's going to take a while for this point. So the bingo card say 5 resets. Is that what it says, John?
Bingo card. Could be. Gotta find my bingo card somewhere. Might get a prize.
But you see, so Hortolano setting up right behind Cho, deterring this cut from Sher. Has to go all the way into that small space.
And Sher pass it over to the middle here with 93. There's Cho, 55 actually. There's Sher again. Just these players, you gotta. But you can see, you know, some from the cutters of Singapore, they're trying to make themselves look that they're an option, trying to force that in. But great cup by the Philippines.
Yeah, so the initial setup is to protect that behind, to force Singapore to have to go around to get this dump. And that actually, and they do finally find a way through. Singapore offense taking it their time to get going in this gold medal match. But is this the first sign of them coming back?
I would like to think that will be a sigh of relief for Singapore, right? Saying we're able to give somewhat of an answer against the question, which is the zone defense of Philippines.
And I agree, John. I think relief very evident on the Singapore's faces. Just a small, quite muted celebration, shall we say. And hopefully they can find their rhythm, getting back to their confident play. But you see Hortolano doing the grunt work as the puppy in that cup. There's a nice shot by Sher to throw it under the arm of Hortolano. But yes, Hortolano, you see multiple plays or passages in that point. He was protecting that behind dump, right? Which forced. Often it was Sher in that space, having to come up and around. So it meant that time was closing. They didn't have options. They had to get it into a small space. And you see how tight that cup was. It just allowed those extra defenders to crash in and get a small bid on it. But good pressure by the Philippines defense. This time, finally, Singapore score a clean hold.
And here's Peralta to Lamigo. Back to Awid. Peralta gets it back. Peralta. How we thought about it. Takumus was streaking deep but was denied.
It's a pick called here on that field cut. So interesting, even though Singapore were starting on defense this point, John, they have opted for a match defense. And I guess, you know, with the Philippines going in the downwind direction of, oh, what a layout! That was a sky-high bid from Ong. Causes enough trouble for the Philippines offense for the first time.
Here's Singapore, Xie. Oh, having some troubles. Oh, had to do a high release pass. That causes a turnover just when you thought Singapore was gonna roar it back. Philippines gets it. Back for them. Here's Chua. Lateral cut is complete. And a last-minute bid from Singapore. But Butil able to get it.
Jesus, those bids, John, from Singapore. Everyone getting horizontal, getting an outright block, but unable to maintain possession. This is the first time that the Philippines offense has looked a little bit shaky, John. And even on that last catch for the goal, couldn't see who it was, but a fantastic bid to get horizontal and just try to flash in front of the receiver's eyes to cause some pressure.
I believe that was Joe that made that last-minute bid from Singapore. Not afraid, despite Butil right there.
And I think that shows, you know, sparks of life from the Singapore team, having the confidence to put your body on the line. You know, when you see your teammates do those big plays, it just adds that little spark, that little boost, that little extra energy to inspire the rest of your team to also go for it.
Beat me to it there. I was going to say as well, those are some micro things you want to take from the sideline. Like, look, if my teammate's laying it out there, that's got to make me motivate to get it back for her, right?
For sure, and I think Singapore just coming a little bit unstuck as well. That high release shot you saw by Neven Sier, just, you know, in these conditions, I don't think that's the safe option. Sure, when you've got not much wind to speak of, as Singapore march it up already past half field through. And
here we go, great movement so far, number 93. Gives it to Sher.
Travel call. So interestingly, a few of these travels when they're called, you know, they kind of stop and have a chat. Whereas, you know, if they just respond to the travel, go back to where they were and get things going, I actually think that advantages the offense of Singapore. And so I think even that small adjustment might actually help them maintain some of the momentum in these points.
And it will be number 55. Dapat that sideline.
Yeah, so this cup, you can see that big mark.
And here we go, shoots it, but Sumbi right there. Denying that. Here's Guerrero. Guerrero to Villanueva. Villanueva to Sacapano. Sacapano rips it through a bunch of players there. And it looks like Cortez will pick up the garbage.
Cortez, again, right place, right time. That is the second time in a row towards that end zone that she has just read the disc out the back. Everyone else short. You guys go jump ball, no worries at all. I'm just gonna easy clap catch this one behind you. And then, geez, what focus by Cortez, backing herself to read the disc in these swirly conditions. That is 2 points on the board for Cortez.
As we take a look, here's the last-ditch forehand from Singapore, where Philippines able to stop And getting back as we look at the action of this amazing save from Cortez.
And a low throw here. It rips that lefty backhand, that outside in shape. So you see, because it's outside in and it's going to fade left, Cortez there just goes with a smile as well. In fact, that's her third goal of this game, but 2 of them are copy-paste. So well done on being incredibly consistent there, Cortez.
You see the amazing flags between these two nations battling it out. As you know, both of these are loud and proud of their ultimate frisbee journey. Both of them have very consistent ultimate frisbee programs. As you can see here, Philippines, despite the challenges of different island players coming from different islands, limiting the training reps. I believe this team was able to only get 5 to 6 boot camps leading up to this. As we mentioned from the previous streams, previous days, took them only the 2nd day boot camp to get their wheels rolling as far as chemistry goes.
Yeah, and this might be a timeout call because we haven't gotten to half yet. The score is 7-2. And I have to say, that last point, I just want to reflect on that, right? Because the way that Philippines were able to trap the disc on that far sideline, as you said, force that bailout, high turnover throw, and then their deep defender was able to get in the way and intercept and also get things going very quickly. So we thought the Singapore zone actually might be the key in this game, but it's the Philippine zone that has been coming up trumps.
The zone is something that was what I've expected here from the Philippines for sure, but I was just keep on really focused on the Philippines offense. But to your point, the defense from Philippines shining brightly for them. And you can see the instructions, you can see Felix Angge really urging his teammates to stay focused. Look, we have this cushion for sure, but still eyes on the prize, job not finished.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the D line, so whenever they start on D, they've had 7 points starting on D, and they have scored 5 out of 7. That's incredible. 5 out of 7 when starting on D, and 3 of them have been clean breaks, John.
And you hear the Philippines with their patented Pilipinas cheer. Look to see if they can still continue to steamroll this offense.
And I think if Cortez has anything to say about it, they will certainly keep on rolling through to the gold medal. She's had 3 goals on the board. Sacapano, 2 assists and a goal here. And a nice spread of assists and goal scorers. Dacumos, Butil, Lamigo, Liboon, Guerrero, Otalano, Villanueva. So sharing the load, this Singapore squad and this Singapore D-line, really good to see. It's definitely a team effort. As we see some highlights for the first half. That one.
Mike, can we confirm it's halftime?
That one, again, just reflecting on Cortez's ability to position herself well for the flight path of the disc. That outside in, shape, fading above and across the pitch. So as we said, Singapore with all the work to do, asking all the questions.
So it looks like we've approached halftime with that point, 7-2. As we get back to as we will return after a short break live from Asia Oceanic Ultimate Championships.
was Philippines. Philippines. And then they got a break point. Right? Philippines got a break point. So I think Singapore is bowling now. Oh yeah, the color will be red.
So we're back from that first half with Philippines leading at 7-2.
Yeah, it's certainly some long points and a few calls blowing out the time in the first half. So although Philippines haven't gone to 8 yet, because we reached 55 minutes on the time clock, it meant that we had a timed half essentially. So Philippines do take half 7-2, certainly looking the goods in the first stanza. They managed 5 break points in total. Felt like most of the time when the D-line got on field, they were able to convert. And Singapore, initially looking really down and dejected, they didn't look like they were in the game at all, but the last couple of points showed some good signs where they were able to connect a bit more, adjust their offensive movement, strategy, and structure, and hopefully they can flip the script here in the second half.
And here's Dakumos. Dakumos looking downfield and he shoots it. Bunch of players here. Butil comfortably gets it to go for the quick score.
Incredibly quick by the Philippines. And what a way to start the first half. You could see that they tried to sit Dorcas yet in that deep space to deter that big huck. But Patil goes, no worries, mate. I'm just going to run past you. And reads that downwind throw direction to perfection. Philippines off to a fast start already in this second half.
As you take a look at that blady forehand pass to Butil. Care of Dakumos. Dakumos again, the steady handler for Philippines. Again, that was Butil, locally known as AG back home. Been playing 8 years with the Philippines, part of Boondocks and Sunken Pleasure.
Less than 5 seconds on the clock for that score, John. Incredibly efficient. I think that's been a real contrast, right? Every time the Philippines O-line gets on the field, which is not too many times, right, because the D-line's just been playing so well, but every time their O-line gets on the pitch, they just score so quickly. It's a real contrast to the Philippines offense. They are having to grind every single offensive point and often with nothing to show for it.
And here, zone defense again from Philippines. If it's not broken, don't fix it if you're Philippines, and they're gonna still showcase that defense. Number 93. Here's 4. Shiu.
Cheeky lefty backhand to sneak it through the cup, and then now gets some meters through.
And here you go. This is where Singapore has been able to get some yardage. Just have to maintain their composure. And just when I say that,
Commentators curse John. Composure, that is the key word. Cho, usually ever so reliable in that space. That wind just pushes it all the way down to the ground.
that was the pass towards Cho that forced that error, and looks like, oh, able to stretch his hands. Pariano does. And the pass just sails out of bounds. Abing trying to tow it in, but just too far out. And here's a chance. Here's number 4. Chu. Here's Cho. the way the other side to Chur. .33 gives it back.
So the Philippines front wall working side to side, managing to make Singapore squeeze a few of these passes. Show there's no meters gained whatsoever by the defense. And again, Philippines forcing the issue. Yet another break opportunity.
And here's Agnes.
So very interesting look. Singapore have opted to go for Zone D. So they started the point on offense, but recognizing the fast-paced Philippines offensive looks have went, we're gonna slow things down, have our, very effective zone in the 3 female matching player cup. And they have successfully forced Philippines backwards.
And here's Saludes. Oh, last minute bid from Singapore, but Hortelano looks like a foul's gonna be called. Consents and uncontested accepted at that by number 67, Beshi Hugh. Agnes. Oh, it looks like almost a turnover. Hortelano able to read it.
This is good by the Singapore defense. They continue to encourage Philippines to throw backwards. And they do have a couple of sneaky opportunities. They are in the end zone now. They work their way out.
And they're great movement to side to open up that zone.
Yeah, finding the holes now. Philippines caught on this sideline. So they've elected to form a cup. There's kind of half effort to deter the dump, but the cup just not able to adjust there.
Hortelano, you're on the right side of the field. Oh, able to get a great presence from Agnes to keep it alive, and same here by Rebusa. But you can sense the pressure now for Philippines, and this is going well for Singapore. Again, almost a bit. They're really getting aggressive. Singapore is. Hortelano. Rebusa back to Saludes. Saludes. You can sense the cup fading away a little bit. Oh, and just what I say, bobs through Rebusa's hand.
It was very interesting there. The defense of Singapore prioritizing covering the dump. And they actually forced Philippines to throw forwards, but those channels were closing down, as you said, several bids, a lot of possessions were pressured, and they do manage to earn the turn back.
All the way to number 69. Actually, 93 rather. That's rifles it through. That's one of the few large yardage from Singapore. Quick 1-2 between Chu and the female matching player. Oh, almost thought that he was going to rifle it in, but Chu gives it to 93, and they finally gets a score. First free-flowing offense against the Philippines zone.
And again, Singapore having to work incredibly hard. They had to earn the possession back after giving it up twice. And Dorcas yet positioning herself much better this time in that zone offense. She works with her partner in crime on the opposing wings. And because of that movement and accountability, as we see here, this overthrow with the wind, just no more space left. And again, they just tried to force it through the cup. As we said, that easy reset dump was covered, which meant he had to go for that high risk through the cup. And Dorcas yet, earlier in the point, she set herself in a fantastic position because she had forced that deep to choose someone to cover. The deep said, you're not a threat, and she went, I'm gonna punish that. And then moves up, works hard to get in the end zone for a score. So I really like that adjustment by the Singapore Zone O structure. That's what we were calling for earlier, and they finally made that change in the second half.
Again, we'll see how. Wouldn't be surprised if Singapore goes for a zone defense of their own. And a sail out of bounds for Philippines. Here's Dakumos, and right on cue, Singapore. They try to showcase their excellent zone defense. Butil, almost a D from Singapore, but Peralta able to stick it in. Here's Peralta.
If we look at that zone setup, there's about 5 Singapore players in front of the disc. So they've got 3 in the cup. Sorry, 6 players. So they've got 3 in that first cup and 3 in that second wall. You can see just clogging up all the space here. So there, they forced the error, but there's going to be a foul called. So we can see the Singapore zone very, very aggressive, John.
Very aggressive. It looks like a foul is going to be called. That caused that pass to be too low. And a quick pass to Irish Ambida.
I think it's the in-out call.
That's the question here. As you can see, gestures from Ambida saying where he, to her perspective, where he caught the disc. She's saying that her right leg was the first contact in bounds before her left foot. And there, as you can see. As they use the game advisor, that's a great display of where if the 2 players discussing can't get an observation, they quickly ask game advisor's perspective. And still up to them if they're going to accept it or not, but they've spiritually accepted that call.
Yeah, and the game advisor was in a very good position as well to provide perspective on that play. So I'm not sure what the outcome of that call was because they're still discussing it. Looks like it will stay, so retracted call and a violation. So pauses in this game, stymieing some of the offensive flow.
I'll take a pause there when I said spiritually. I want to take a moment to correct myself, but getting back here. Butil, laser focus to Chua. Gets it to go.
What a point, what a celebration. She goes for the layup as well. That was a beautiful passage of play. We did say earlier in that point, all of the first and the second wall bunching together very close to the disc, which meant that the deep defense for Singapore was covering 2 players. In the end, they snuck in, tried to put pressure on that next pass, but let that very deep option in the end zone go. And we know that shooter's going to shoot. Butil with the booming arm. Well done to curve that up and around and over all walls of defense. And you see the deep, you see the disappointment. He goes, I got sucked into that player on that under space and didn't quite have the wheels to close that deep shot down.
And again, that is just a quick response from Philippines. Their offense. I mean, 9-3 now begs to ask Singapore, where some other things that they can show against the offensive line of the Philippines, but we'll stick it back here to Singapore's O-line.
So Cho, as we said, very reliable handler. Working with Chu. That one's a high shot, but the scraps are picked up, so does well to maintain possession for Singapore.
Great presence of mind, but Cho having some hard time to get it out of his hands. And there's Cho.
So again, Philippines opting for this trap sideline. Singapore do work it out eventually to the fat side. And who haven't seen in the handler space too much, has been a very handy person in this backspace, popping in at the right moments and cycling through. She's been very steady with the disc. I've been very impressed with her performance. And Shu rifles one through to Chur now.
Oh, amazing will be reeling it in, milks it all for the score. Singapore with their 4th point.
And this is what I'm used to seeing from the Singapore offense. This is their smooth-moving, quick disc movement, finding the gaps, shooting through the cup, shooting through the defenders. This is where Singapore feel their confidence, right? And so, you know, we spoke about the body language and the vibe and the aura of the team. Sure, like they're not super up and about, but you're seeing that confidence now more on display. And this one perfectly identified, Sure assisting to his teammate, Bear Shi Hui. And Bear Shi Hui actually coming into this game with 1 assist and 7 goals, so she's used to being on the receiving end of those offensive plays.
It's a 5-point deficit, so if they're gonna mount any sort of comeback, I think these few points will determine that. Here's number 7, Deborah. Oh, it's kind of a short pull. That's Wind just battling against her pull there.
Yeah, that's not what you want when you've just started to gain a little bit of confidence and you feel this small shift and you end up with a short pull. I think she would have been better off trying to go for a rolling pull or something out the sideline just to make them have a static start from an awkward position. Oh, that one is too low!
Too low for Takumos. It looks like it worked. Oh, just unable to save it, but looks like a foul's gonna be called.
So Jovan Chong had to catch that disc 3 times, and then the last bobble, I think he said that foul on my last attempt, on my 4th attempt to save this disc, was impeded. And I think very fair to make a call on this one. It looked like he had a chance to reel that one in.
1, 2, 3 bubbles.
And 3 meters gained.
3 for 3. As you see, the game advisors are slowly marching in. Probably provide their perspective as you listen into this. As we get back to see that error, and let's take a look.
So that's going to be a contested call, signalled with the hands, and I think that's very fair. It's a very, very close call. As we said here, quite crucial. Small momentum shift, also small increase in confidence, shall we say, from the Singapore team. They really need to take advantage and try to apply some pressure on this Philippines team.
Here's Go. Oh, able to reel it in. Forehand pass. Number 47, Cheryl. Cheryl So. Having trouble. Able to get it. Dumps it back to 87. Oh, too high of a pass, but able to snatch it out of the sky.
Seo soaring up to get that grab, and now
Seo again at the side of this, at the other side of this field. Trapped there, swings it all the way to Ong. Ong rifles to a forehand pass and denied by Awid.
Just checking if there were any calls there. And nope, they say that was all fair play. Oh,
high of a pass. Yes, just right near the end zone for Singapore.
yeah, that was an absolute. This one also goes high, but well trapped. Philippines retain possession.
Dacumos able to track it down. Sings it to Peralta. Peralta to Awid. Oh, nice sneaky pass to Dacumos as he was just there by himself. Sings it to Peralta. Oh, left alone there. Irish, unguarded. Excellent throw there.
Yeah, and why that shot was so open was that deep, deep wing was forcing that deep, deep defender to really take notice and opened up that beautiful shot to get a really nice gainer.
And here's Awid. Awid, short pass to Martinez. Martinez to Awid to Peralta. Peralta can already smell it. Oh, just what I thought about that. Thought Awid was gonna drop that disc, but able
Yeah.
to reel it in.
I think he tried to smell it by getting it a bit closer to his nose, and that bubble, fortunately, smells roses.
Here's Awid. Awid urging some of his cutters to come in a little closer. And a scuba to Irish. And gets it in for the 10th point of Philippines to Lamigo.
And Philippines looking completely untroubled by this Singapore defense. I think the key, like the real difference, right, in terms of the two zone offenses is that the Singapore zone offense, they're not coordinating those wings as well to keep the deep accountable. On the flip side, the Philippines offense, their two wings are working together in tandem, and they're forcing the deep to have to choose to cover one, which opens up the other. And, you know, oftentimes offense, you know, all the handlers and the poppers seem to get the disc on hand and get a lot of the kudos, but in this situation, it's the wings that have proved crucial and really the big difference between the two offense looks.
10-4 the score. We'll see how Singapore responds. And so far, I mean, that zone defense from Singapore just not showing up for so far, and that's credit to Philippines adjustments, being able to find the right gaps in between the zone of Singapore. There's a short pull again, short field for Singapore to work. Going to pick up by Chu. It's like a match person defense. Squeezes it in, Chu does, to number 93. Gives it to Cho. Gets it back. Having some troubles. Asking a lot for Chu, but able to reel it in. And a layout catch is secured. Giving it their 5th point.
So Singapore offense, this is 2 pretty efficient offensive points we've seen in this half. So like we said, showing some signs of life after being completely steamrolled in the first half. I think it's good to see that they are trying to get up and about, but you know, the time is running out. I think they might have left it too late to mount a charge. However, Dorcas yet there in the space. She's come off a recent campaign playing in Logrono with the World Under-24, so bringing back some international experience to try and G up her team here.
And this is the first steady offense we've seen so far from Singapore. And I think if you're Philippines, they want to probably stick back to zone defense because that was just too easy against their match person defense there, Amber.
Yeah, that's it, John. Like the last 2 points have been somewhat surprisingly efficient and quick for the Singapore offense. So they're starting to get that confidence and that flow state back. And looking at those last 2 points. They were scored offensive hold in 2 minutes 10 and 2 minutes 20. So Singapore offense cleaning things up, being much more efficient.
So we're wrapping up as the final day of Asia Oceanic Ultimate Championships, giving us some good weather here in Kamisu.
So Singapore setting a zone D, an arrowhead. So this is going to force Philippines to throw side to side and try and get them to use the narrow channels between the defenders and the sideline.
And you can see Niven Siu from Singapore right in that middle of that zone. Gonna use his length to give, but Philippines doing a good job to sneak into those gaps. It's gonna go back here with Awid, number 88 from Philippines. Awid to Peralta, to Dacumos. Gives it to Awid.
I think this is good adjustment from the Singapore Cup. They're trying to force it to this close sideline. Philippines having to throw a high-risk option to try to get it to the break side.
You love that aggression from the female matching pairs of Singapore. But just when I say that, Philippines rifle through to gain some huge yardage. Here's Awid. Awid gets it to Dacumos. Peralta.
So very active hand motions and running in for the bid. Certainly fake inside the hands there.
A little of theatrics from Awid. I think Singapore might bite on that hammer.
He certainly held it long enough. But it's funny, the defender didn't react to it either.
Rightfully so, and Awid, in response, he's being able to find those gaps quite so easy, knowing that they're on the other side and seeing where the Singapore defenders are.
And a match called or something called from the sideline to the defenders. There's a high ball, but well trapped down, and there is a foul called.
Martinez to Butil, all the way to Dacumos. And this is where you're saying they want to trap it on this sideline. Singapore.
Yeah, so you see very active mark and very active front cup, covering those crashes. Oh, and there's some slap to the face there. And he tumbles down. Like you said, some theatrics now on display, John.
But I think for this, he definitely got slapped there as he continues to shake his head.
It goes to show how active those arms and hands are of that front cup, trying to deter those high options and those piercing throws through the cup. So Singapore, I think, doing a much better job in their last few defensive efforts there. Oh, as you see the replay, just that reaction falls to the ground.
And Peralta, known as a strength and conditioning coach back home, a slap is just a slap regardless if you're fit or not, and that's just, ouch. Here's Butil. Oh, he thought about that backhand hook for a second, opts to do the safer pass.
So like I said, Singapore, the last couple of offensive points, much more smooth, and now their defense getting to work, showing that they are not out of this gold medal match at all. They are forcing the issue from Philippines, forcing them all the way back and sideways, and you see they still continue to retreat. They find a wide shot out.
But it's huge.
Okay.
Huge for Singapore. Go ahead.
Okay, so, oh, and they find the needle. They do thread it through.
And here, Butil will rifle it to Lamigo for the score. Lover's pass. As Philippines gets their 11th point.
Lamigo making it count. Just that heated, aggressive Singapore defense. They were sniffing the outright block, but that narrow channel somehow made its way all the way through. And the Philippines not being asked twice when there's a long option available. They will shoot and they will hit the target. I was just about to say, so that Singapore zone, the initial look is an arrowhead, so they're forcing the disc to be thrown side to side, and they did spectacularly well to get good field position. Philippines were stuck all the way out in their backfield. But then when they got to the close sideline here, there was a trap called, and that's when you saw them try to invest in that Noah round. But Philippines, their disc skills good enough to pierce through and get it to that break side. So Philippines showing that all the looks that Singapore throwing them, they've got all the answers.
And you thought Singapore was able to get a run-through defense, but just Philippines able to sneak it in. And that's where the hawk started to begin for Philippines.
So progress has been made by Singapore. Can they continue to progress this point? The dump gets out of the way and an open under comes up nicely. Gestures to come under. The dump's working hard. Again, now is stuck on a high stall.
Oh, and able to squeeze it into Chu. Oh, and he sends it deep. Oh, just too fast as the pass got picked up by the wind.
Again, Singapore just haven't shown that disc control in that downwind direction. And we spoke about it before, but the lack of wind in Singapore, they cannot train in windy conditions. They can't refine their throws in different wind directions. And I think it's been very obvious in this game. All their downwind attempts, particularly in that first half, just completely out the back.
But great power position from number 4, Chu. Just that execution of bash. Easier said than done for sure, but yes. Gotta take advantage of that for Singapore. You don't get as much opportunities like that. Especially in this game. Here's Guerrero.
Oh, that was, I think, an attempt to push pass. A little too much air there, and the defender sneaks in to affect the play. Bei Shi Hui there, explaining her perspective of what happened against a much bigger Guerrero.
Just look at that replay. It looks like the wind pushed it back to Guerrero. Wasn't able to slip with the hands, but it will get returned back there to the Philippines. And here's Max, Sumbi. Villanueva and Sumbi. With 1-2 between these two players. Sumbi. Gives it to Villanueva. To Guerrero. Guerrero to Villanueva.
Again, Singapore with the 3 female matching players in the first wall of the cup, staying extremely close and playing very aggressively, but they do well to shoulder check as well and make sure they continue to cover those threats. Oh, that's a high shot.
Oh, and Guerrero rives it to Cortez again. Cortez, ever so reliable. Bunch of Filipino players there, just gonna pick who he wants to pass. And it's Sumbi for the score.
Cortez again. I think she'll be in the votes for the MVP, just always finding herself in the right space, positioning herself so well. She didn't get a stat on the board for that one, but she absolutely has stamped her mark on this game. And I don't know about that call on the far side, John. It actually looks like it was just a poorly executed throw. But look, the players say, let's just, you know, keep the game moving. And moving indeed are the Philippines towards a potential gold medal here.
11-5. So it's 12-5 between Philippines, Singapore. Gonna mark.
And I think really interesting because in the second half, if we look at it in isolation, it's actually been holds all the way. This is the first break of the second half. So Singapore have managed to stymie the flow. Like we said, they have made progress both on offense and defense, but it is well too late in the piece. They're going to have to come up with something absolutely heroic to try and come back in this match.
Yes, you are correct. And just going back at the first half, 5 breaks that happened in the Philippines. And to your point here in the second half, it's been really 0-0 or even. So it's either a huge meltdown that will happen in the Philippines that might get them back the game, or Singapore being able to force turnover after turnover to be able to somehow narrow this 7-point lead.
Yeah, I think they've left themselves with a lot of work to do, but, you know, never count them out. Sometimes as you near the finish line, the nerves start to come in and you second guess a few things. And with these windy conditions, you just never know what's going to happen to the disc. And so some of those 50-50 balls, you know, if it falls the right way in Singapore's favor, could be a comeback for the ages.
And I'm sure if you, as you take a look of all the supporters and prospectors enjoying this exciting match, as you look at the Philippines line, and you can continuously hear the sideline, they're not yet done with their job. Not taking this for granted. They've taken such a long time to return back to mixed division supremacy within the region.
And just want to give a shout out to all the volunteers, all the staff, the LOC, the WFDF staff as well, to put on a fantastic tournament, John. It's been such an incredible 5 days of play here. And the gold medal matches, make sure you stay tuned. We've still got plenty more action in the women's and the open division later on, as we see if Singapore can mount a comeback for the ages.
Philippines going back.
So
match person defense, just a little bit curious from Singapore.
Yeah, they started with 5 players back. So they were trying to isolate 2 cutters upfield. Philippines defense glued on to the look and clogged up those spaces. Now they managed power position.
Here we go. Singapore on the left side part of that field, moves it to the middle. It's 97. Quick movements, number 2, Daryl Ho. Daryl, sneaks it through there on a great block from Mariano, but looks like
Foul on the throat. Yeah, Ho's throat. I think didn't quite go where he intended. Or travel.
it's a travel before that pass, 2 passes before. And that's where the discussion's gonna start between number 2, Daryl, and 24, Hortelano.
So an interesting option, actually. Singapore have put on their usual D-line to play offense again. So trying to switch it up, trying to give the O-line a bit of a break after what's been a real draining game with lots of long points. The offensive line having to really grind and work and say, you know, D-line, get on, get your legs going. See if they can make a dent here. Oh, it almost took the head off. Gotta be careful of those ones, John. Might have an injury call as well to deal with.
Agnes was Neo Matrix-like reflexes to be able to dodge that bullet.
Might want him at the party playing playing limbo.
Here it goes, Singapore. Oh, able to snatch it in. Here's Sim. Showcasing her verticality. Sim. Dumps it. Oh, layout. Attempt from Philippines, Agnes.
That's against Andy Cho there, who I feel like we haven't really called his name as much in this half. He was very prominent early, playing both O and D lines. This time trying to maintain possession from Singapore, but both with the line also coming into play here.
Take it this replay for a short. How it happens.
So violation called.
Oh, it looks like the turnover is gonna stand. It looks like the layout block is successful. Agnes rips through another. Ill-advised at that. Probably wanted to quickly score that point.
Yeah, that seems like a strange decision, right? A bit of rush of blood to the head after you just managed to get this amazing layout block. The conservation of greatness, just like I said, you know, fatigue errors when you're closing out this match. Maybe, you know, a couple of errors creeping into the Philippines game.
And here's Daryl Ho. Number 27, Cho.
To Cho.
Able to get it, Cho again. Oh, layout grab to secure it. Cho able to save the pass, and he will reel it in. Great catch here. Number 7, Deborah. Gives it to 18, Cho. Cho running from options.
There is a call. There's a pick down in the stack, just out of the frame at the moment. So the disc will stay with Singapore, and they managed to gain some big meters with some big throws, John.
You can hear the sideline from the Philippines yelling instructions. And this is Rebusa from the Philippines marking Cho. Cho. Oh, miscommunication between Cho and Ho. Hortelano to Saludes. Oh, great presence of mind from Hortelano.
So again,
Agnes.
again, Singapore trapping when it gets to this close sideline, forcing Philippines backwards, and they move sideways to move forwards. Oh, that is
almost an outstretched hand from Singapore. Mariano leaps it. Rebusa, Mariano. Here is, looks like a travel.
Travel, or maybe even a foul call.
Correct.
But looks like it didn't affect play. So the players just wanting to reset their position.
Oh, it looks like gonna be a drop again. Rebusa, that pass was affected by that wind as he quickly went to the ground.
Yeah, she did so well with that 1-2-1-2 with Mariano earlier to gain so many meters for Team Philippines. That one just pushed to the ground in that downwind direction.
And here's Singapore, but at the same time, Singapore gives it back. Agnes. Oh, layout attempt, no good. We're seeing some errors from both teams. Multi-errors at that.
Absolutely, John. And like we said, day 5, gold medal match on the line. Philippines just unable to sustain that high level of ultimate they've had in the first part of this match. The first half was pretty much perfect song, just starting to be worn down very slowly by the Singapore team. But I don't know if Singapore have enough time to peg it all the way back. Yes, they've made progress, but I don't think it's fast enough.
Pass is going to be too high, and Mariano denies that. Let's see. Hortelano picks up the disc. Saludes. Oh, sailing out there. It looks like it's going to be blocked from Singapore again.
So this downwind direction now, everyone really struggling to ride the wind properly. It was so interesting because the first half it was all downwind scores. They had read the wind, they had adjusted their throws from it, but the fatigue now, people just wanting the points to be over quickly, and quite a few of these high release throws have been gone awry, but way to go for, I think that was Daryl Ho with the layout block, seeing that the disc was overthrown, but still an opportunity for Philippines. Make sure he stamps that one away. So timeout called by Singapore. I think this is a good moment to take a breath and recollect. They've managed to wrangle possession back yet again. That's 6 turnovers already in this point.
Let's see if how Philippines definitely want to get this point out defensively, as they're so close to their attacking end zone. Again, I think this is the longest points we've seen in any of the games that we've watched so far, especially here in the stream. I think rightfully so, given how each of the zone defense have been really grueling and long for both nations.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to make it to point cap, John, and that's why I think Philippines have sealed the win, and their very impressive first half was why they got the job done. They had 5 unanswered breaks. Singapore still unable to make any dent in Singapore. They've created opportunities, but 0 conversions as of yet, so Singapore, again, all the work to do.
Well, good leading pass to number 2, Ho, from Cho. Oh, leaping. In the leaping, the errors are now piling up for Singapore. You can sense this. The moment trailing away from Singapore.
Yeah, you just feel, doesn't really matter what happens. All Philippines need to do is hold the disc in hand and take it easy. They've looked really composed. I mean, sure, there's been a couple of fatigue areas in this point, but otherwise, under no stress whatsoever.
And here, a bladey forehand pass is finally complete. Agnes to Abing for the score.
And that is break number 7 for Philippines. So after some steady trading in this second half, Philippines go, nah, we want this game done and over. We're going to break you twice, break you all the way to take this gold medal home.
Hear the cheers from the Philippines. And the other side, Singapore just seems out at it. But at this moment, it's about finishing strong for Singapore if we're unable to mount the comeback that they need. And this just goes to show the level of game IQ and athleticism from Philippines might be proving too much for Singapore's young squad.
And I think also, thinking about consistency, right? Not just consistency within games, John, but consistency throughout the entire tournament. Like, there might be games where your concentration might lapse, or You make some, bad decision errors or execution errors, but your ability to be able to stay relatively consistent and, in the games when you may not be playing your best, try to grind out a win. That's the sign of a true champion. And I think Singapore, we've seen them on the stream a few times already this tournament, just not able to string together the consistency on the last day.
Oh, and great defense. Layout catch is not good. Villanueva. Someone's streaking deep here from Philippines. Cortez to Sacapano. Oh, layout attempt. No good from Singapore. Pulling all the stops. And here is the fast and furious Philippines. Guerrero to Villanueva.
So again, Singapore default to their female cup. Cortez keeps the toes in.
And the turnover caused by Singapore looks like a hand block.
Yep, outright hand block by Ho. Looking for a long option, does take it.
And here, striking it in for Singapore.
That is with the score. So Singapore mount a late charge here. Managed to get that hold via Shirley. That was a good spot up by Daryl Ho after he got that hand block. Went for that big huck, and we said Singapore have had difficulty controlling that downwind huck, but this one was placed with perfection.
And it's 13-6, Philippines.
And I think, now's probably a good time to reflect. This is not the end of the campaign for these two teams. We have the Southeast Asia Games coming up in December. These are the squads that are going to be competing in that tournament. And, sure, it might be disappointing showing from Singapore, but it's a good challenge for them to have now, a really good test of, some of this really exquisitely difficult to break Philippines later on. So I'm sure they'll go back to the drawing board, come up with some different strategies. And I think particularly in the wind conditions, how they're going to be able to really take advantage and work with the wind rather than have it work against them.
And this will definitely be a good eye test for nations that are going to be playing in the Southeast Asia Games. And look, this is what we've seen so far from these countries, where they might battle it out later this year in December. So good opportunity for all of the nations that's going to play in that SEA Games, and exciting to have the flying disc represented that December. It helps to further cement the status of our sport in terms of how can we move closer to the end goal, which is to be part of the Olympics, right? So just exciting to be able to have Thailand, the host country, include that as part of the sports that the Southeast Asia countries to compete for.
So Singapore with their zone able to force Philippines to throw numerous passes. Not much forward momentum gained here. And you see the cup jumping up and down, aware that they might use those high release throws. And something to note, John, I haven't noticed Raymond Cher on field very much, particularly this second half. So I wonder whether the loss of Cher, especially from the offensive line, has really knocked back Singapore's confidence. He is such a pivotal handler, usually working alongside Chio and Chu. I'm not sure. Maybe there's an injury or some physical issue limiting his impact. And, sometimes you just need those players that you can rely on, that helps the other teammates stand tall and strong. And I think that might be a bit of a loss here, looking at the on-field soldiers for Singapore.
Oh, and a layout attempt.
And there's going to be a foul. I think he copped some contact across the arm there.
Hoping nothing too major of an injury from the Homos. Just hoping it's more of a shock because of that last-minute layout attempt from Singapore. So let's get back here as he look at that as he wins his pain. But again, going back to, as we see this amazing spirit discussion, we get back to how both of these nations will join the Southeast Asia Games later this year. Be exciting to see how that unfolds in terms of how much the general public will be able to witness such an amazing sport that we'll have. I mean, that's been our, for people here in the booth, right, that's always been one of our passions, where we wanted to, as much as we can, showcase these high-level games, but at the same time also show what it's about, which is the spirit of the game there, Avril.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you know, the recent calendar has been absolutely scattered with world-level competition. Of course, we had World Ultimate Championships only last year in the Gold Coast. This tournament, Asia Oceanic, we had the World Under-24 Championships in Logroño, Spain, only several months ago. Backed up, whoa, by the fantastic defensive bid. Singapore not looking down and out. They are still putting every effort despite the closing minutes of this game. Philippines do work it up and they sneak one through the cup.
And they make quick movement, quick work to move it downfield. This is Guerrero. Oh, thought about that hammer. Here's Guerrero. To Peralta. Scuba to Butil.
Faked that high release backhand, thinking he's just going to sneak another one over the cup.
Guerrero. Awid. To Peralta. Just taking its time, and they let it so. Tiptoe and all. Irish for the score.
That what a way to close out that point. The Philippines, they are very pleased, and that is championship point for the Philippines. They sealed the deal here. That first half, that D-line perfection, that was the key to winning this game. And coming into this match undefeated, they keep a perfect record here.
As we see the hearts from all of the lovely, passionate players from Philippines, and right there, they complete the sweep, being able to get back to gold. Amazing response from the 2023 AOUC tournament that they've gone through. Now here, champions of the mixed division.
And like you say, what a way. Philippines Ultimate, having had a lot of previous success, perhaps in the last edition when they were hosting in Manila, you know, the bronze, not quite happy enough with that on their home turf. This time they go and shoot for gold, and shoot they did. They did not look challenged whatsoever by the Singapore team, and they will be brimming full of confidence now. Clearly the mixed program, both in the Open Age division and the Masters division, having success here at the Asia Oceanic Ultimate Championships.
It's been an amazing display of ultimate frisbee between these two nations. Singapore tried to pull all of the stops, but just Philippines proving way too much for Singapore as they get the gold here in mixed division. And we will be right back for the next set of games, live from Kamisu here in Asia Oceanic Ultimate Championships.